Okay. Let's get the lighting. Whoops. All right. Welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. All right. So my intention with this video is to go into a little flow. I kind of set this up so I could just be comfortable on my couch. So I can't pause. So apologies if there's noise or if my dog barks. I am wanting to share an energy update. And first I'll go into a little flow though, and then I'll do the energy update at the end. And the energy update is more my own perspective on what I've been experiencing, what I've been noticing in session. I haven't been doing as many sessions. I had to take a little bit of a break, but I'm getting back into it. And it's so interesting that when I do open that back up and I start working with other people, it's just amazing to see how similar all of our experiences are and what many of us are experiencing. And many of us feel like we're the only ones experiencing it. And then I'll work with someone and I'm like, I just worked with someone yesterday who's going through the same thing. So it's really fun. And so I just wanted to kind of share that. I'll share that at the end. So in the meantime, I'm just going to invite you to kind of settle into your body, connect with your breath. Ko e ne awa ste awa kone I di wo ne wahana te o ko e han. Yo e une hewa ane yan ne kini am ko han e wahena. We e o e a sto e ko awa e na. Ti kuya in kini wai ti we o e wa kuya ne wa e te o. Inao inao no no mo. Yo wa kuene kwa ne wa. We're just playing with some sounds here. Guys, I'll do a whole other video, right, someday, more about all of these sounds and what they mean. Tar okur at ekher, tik ar okur. They're meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. Kur at ekher. And as we move these sounds around with our energy field, as we feel into these sounds, as we allow ourselves to feel, as these sounds are expressed, we then reveal deeper aspects of a deeper sense of connection to the space in which we all exist within, this space of plasma charge, if you will. For as we charge our vocabulary, as we feel the charge flow up into all of the senses, we allow ourselves to peel back the layers and let go of the senseless redistribution of vocabulary that does nothing for the senses. No thing would be perhaps the lower frequency explanation of certain words that harness a lower tonality. Yet we are recognizing that as we set our intention to electrify our scope of integrity in our speech patterns, we allow ourselves to tap into an integral portion of the puzzle in which we all fit into, the pieces of the fractal in which we bring into unification through this metamorphosis of communication. Tur anehekar akur enetitikur at et ishtakur at et ekur an akur han akura. For symbology is the frequency of source energy. All symbols and codes are then interpreted. This is a play on words. Integrated, interpreted through the scope of perspective in which we each interact with our own perception. Cái mô ấy ní ní ồ anh ní kia ní cũng ní kia vậy quỳ ní ní vậy come on tất ui ní thì kia ní ui wow cũng ní nó quỳ vậy tí tí ui cái này tí tí vậy à mô quỳ we mix in these different lingual fractalities, if you will, for we are each accessing our whole potential in bits and pieces. Yet we remind you that all of the bits of information that you form in your skin suit, if you will, in your plasmatic membrane, in your suit, your container, your bubble, kur at et ishtok ur at et ek ur, tishtur at ek ar ak ur hand ak ur at ek ar ur and ak ur. Yar ur tek er. We remind you that you are continuously downloading bits of information and uploading and I'm hearing like spelling out and exploding, like spitting it out, spinning it out. We invite you not to get spun out over the language that we are using. The language is ur at ek ur at eshta ak ur. For the language is as a living light codex of information that triggers certain frequencies within the membrane index. This all play on words. The inner codons, the inner codex, if you will, the inner spiral, the inner spin. And as you allow yourself to sit within the spin that we are spinning, that we are spindling. When I say spindling, I'm seeing weaving, right? A spindle. And I'm also seeing a reference to aurora. I was really guided to wear purple and blue, thinking of the aurora energies right now. You do not need to speak these languages to tap into your own bank, so to speak, to tap into your own memory bank of the languages that you have within your, I'm hearing speak tank, think tank. For you are not necessarily desiring to express in the same point of view. Yet these words do contain different linguistic channels in which you can tap into to feel, to trigger, to accentuate, if you will, the accent that we are providing. So I'm seeing how like an accent like what is I can't remember, but like in French, it's that little accent that you put like expose has the little, I can't remember what the terminology is for the hypernation, hyper. Anyways, it changes the whole meaning of the word and it changes the spin on the toroidal field in which the words and the letters spin within. It is literally a living light code index. And as I'm speaking these words, I'm seeing them being expelled into this field in which we are playing within together. And it's a charge, it's electricity. It is literally spindles and fibers. I'm hearing fiber optics, and it's an optical illusion. So I'm seeing it's a shimmering resonance, and I'm hearing ones and zeros. So it's a little bit like, ooh, now I'm going into a completely different spin. I'm seeing a binary code. I'm seeing ones and zeros. I'm seeing the I Ching. I'm hearing spin dots. Yet in this way of communication, it creates a particle exchange on the wave front from one perspective. It allows us to exchange information through the particle waves that we are all sitting within, through this electronic device, so to speak, that is literally held within the same plasma field that you are sitting within right now in this existential awareness moment. This is all kind of a play on words. Like I'm hearing spin the words up. I'm hearing Lucy in the sky with diamonds. For the charge that we provide sets a tone, if you will, sets a tone for a certain chemical exchange to create an abundance of frequencies in which we may all extrapolate or extract from, play on words. Many feel like we are coming home when we hear certain tones and frequencies. And many feel a sense of familiarity, if you will. La familia, tur at it ishtukur at it ekur at ishtukuhena ak e. Yaui ostea koena. Iu hena kiawe. Wehet I kunne wahe wahit makuena. Tik arhet ek era, ku at it ik irhak enda, ak arhet ek I, kur at ak era, ok at ak tar it indarhak it istur and arhak urena. Niwaya niyama kunia ti, kuena ta. So I'm going to play with these a little bit. I'm being guided to go into multiple linguistics to stir the pot. I'm hearing to stir the chalice. Moi aua he akoi di oha. Moi kui di mo he ki wa he na. Noia na ma kuni di mo steni ki wa ak ku unu ku ha ndak ik ha kuit ik une au itina. Moi na ti kini mi kuit ak at ik an o kuit am ku he wa. I haven't quite warmed up for this. So many more sounds that want to come through right now. Where to begin? 第谁苦一点呢？We play with these sounds and we invite you to play. For in these signature frequency sound harmonics, you then play with the field of the voice. For it is a tool, yet it is more than that. It is a frequency breaker, if you will. It breaks the frequency barrier that many are afraid of. For many are afraid to sound out their true inner voice, not with words, not with perspectives and opinions, but true sound frequency harmonics. For as you do this, you break the space, you break the matrix, if you will. For the matrix is a sound conductor, or from another perspective, it shoots off into multiple places of perception. And the more that you can perceive in this interaction in which we all weave together, the deeper resonance we all weave together. Our ancestors did this on a regular basis, if you will, to create the base harmonic frequency in which to interact with all things with, turning with, changing with, tuning into together to the geometric mathematical inlays that are interlaced and interwoven in our binary patterns, so to speak, from a linear standpoint, from a nonlinear or analinear perception. For as you create these sounds in the form of, I'm hearing networking. So this is a play on words, like working the nets of your vocal harmonics, but it's more than that. So I'm being guided to talk a little bit about it. It's like you hear it inside. It reverberates through your bones. It reverberates through the fascia, which is the net, which is the network, which then sends signals. I'm hearing to the tubular viscosity, verocities, plays on words. It allows these sounds to break the barriers. So there's certain things that were, like it allows you to resonate with the harmonics that the earth is offering as well. For there are many, we could call them, I'm hearing sound barriers. I'm hearing soundscapades. I'm hearing sound frequency nets. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot. There's electronics. There's that letter. There's all kinds of noise disturbances. But when we actually do these sounds, and I'm hearing we become the electronics, because we are the walking computers. We are technology. So I'm hearing, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, this is not meant to be said about everything, but I am hearing that this has to do with what many people are concerned with right now, and many people are feeling in their field. That is a disturbance to them. But what I'm being told is the way that I'm getting goosebumps, the way that we fight back, this is a play on words. You gotta fight for your right to party. All right, I've been hearing that song like all week. Candace will get a kick out of that one. Essentially, we've got to stay in a higher vibration. That doesn't mean we're going to be there all the time. And when I say we've got to, we don't have to. No one is saying you have to do this, because we are creators of our reality. And if we choose not to, that is our choice, because we are on earth and it's freedom of choice from one perspective, right? Lots of perspectives on that. That's not what this video is about. But we have the right to find joy. We are here now, and we are not always going to be in that space. We are aware, we are witnessing, we are transmuting, we are integrating, we are digesting, we are composting, so on and so forth. And one of our tools in our toolbox of technology, our electronic charge particle accelerators that are channels to source and to all things in-sourced, resourced, is sound. We have the ability to counteract the exposure because we are the technology. And I could go into a whole other rabbit hole with this about that is part of the reason, from one perspective, from a lower dimensional perspective, that's part of the reason these sounds are being sent out the way that they are, is to keep us from fill in the blanks. But from another perspective, and we have this ability. If all of us are doing this together in the network, it overpowers or overrides the system. This is the message I get from my own guidance system, my own perspective. So this is just from one perspective of many. But I'm being shown, if you guys have ever seen, is it Canary? She's like a superhero in one of those superhero movies. Anyways, it's sound. There's a lot actually that's on TV right now, and television is full of disclosure, soft disclosure. They're not coming out and saying, hey, by the way, you guys are magical creatures and you all have superpowers. And oh, by the way, you all come from different planet systems, but then again, some of you are original Earth beings, and that's okay because you're all living together. I mean, let's face it, we'd all love it. It would be fun if somebody came out, right? Somebody stood up today and said, hey, guess what? However, it's all over our shows, our comic heroes and things that have been written about for years, because that is the truth that's been hidden under the green screen, right? The Wizard of Oz. Anyways, so this sound, what I'm being shown is, for example, Sandra Walters does her Sunday meditations. You can find her at sandrawalter.com. And there's like several different times of the day that people will meditate at on Sunday. Add some sound to it. My intention is to connect with the earth frequencies, or the frequencies of the rainbow rays, or nothing that has, I'm being guided to share nothing that has like the most neutral things possible, so that we can stay in this space of neutrality, even if only for that 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes would be ideal. And you might only do the tones for 5 minutes of those 30. But what it is it's setting intention, which holds energy, which sends out this plasma sparkle. And then we connect in with our voice, we connect in with our tune, and we send it out literally into the network in which all things are interacting and coming together. There's a lot coming out, and I'm not gonna, I'll share it maybe in another video, but there's a lot of technology that's being coming out. There's different games that are being that are going to come out, and networks where people are connecting in at, let's say, 1:13, right, every day, or 13 minutes after, right, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., at that 13 mark, just for a few minutes, honing in and creating a tone and creating frequency. It could be prayer, saying your prayers and affirmations out loud. You know, I'm now in a space of love and gratitude and appreciation for all things Mother Earth. That's a voice, that's a sound. Those words and that vocabulary holds a frequency that then activates your communication, our communication, through the telepathic language that we are all connecting into. And telepathic, what I'm hearing is that it's claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and telepathy is that interaction of all those things from one perspective. So we have a tendency to think telepathy looks or sounds like one thing. We're sharing a thought. But what is a thought? Where are those thoughts coming from? They're not inside of us, right? They're outside of us, yet all things are within. Whew. So, all right. Oop, I might have to. Thank you. Speaking of sound, we might want to be voicing the animal sounds of dog speak right now. So everything communicates with each other, and I'm really being guided to this. So lately when I've been popping on and doing these videos, I'm just allowing, I'm trying to stay in flow and allow whatever is most needed for the now moment to come through. And the other day it was all about the earth. Now, when I write up my posts, which I haven't been updating, a lot of it comes through that's in written code about all kinds of things that I, from a linear perspective, don't understand. But from a deeper perspective, I'm constantly being reminded, trust that the information that's coming through, because you're in a place of coherence, you're in a place of heart frequency, is usable currency for whomever or from whatever. And the other thing that I've been guided is just by me saying it out loud brings it into my reality. That's why words are so powerful. That's why we've always heard, you know, speak positive words. That doesn't mean lie. Oh, you look great. when somebody really looks awful because they're really not taking care of themselves, it doesn't mean we're going to say to them, unless we're you look really bad. You look like you've not been sleeping or whatever it could be. There's a fine line, right? But anyways, so what I've been told over and over again is that there is this constant communication going on. And how are we communicating with space? How are we communicating with the quantum? So this particular video I'm seeing is relevant because it's about the words we're using. It's about the dialogue that we're having with ourselves and our environment. And it's recognizing that if you think of everything around us being a fluid, I always used to, I don't know if it was Cryon. That's where I got this bracelet, by the way. It was a Cryon convention. I don't know if it was Cryon and Lee Carroll that made a comment one time, and it just, other than them saying your guides are you, that blew me away too. I didn't know how I felt about that one. Took me a while to process that. But the other thing was thinking of everything as, he always says we're in the soup, right? We're in the soup together. Well, soup is liquid and it holds all kinds of ingredients for the recipe. So I always thought of wow, so what I'm saying is literally moving through the ocean, like a dolphin makes those sonar sounds, and it travels through the water, and the water is a conductor. But so is the air. Air is not just air, it's ether, it's charge, it's plasma and electricity. So as it's interacting with us always, and we're breathing that in and sending it out, it's truly a relationship, because we cannot be without it on the human plane of existence on Earth. And this is provided for us, as is water, as is the sunlight and fire, as is the dirt and the soil and the ground and the plants that magically just grow up from it in so many different forms. And in their forms, they are providing for us from their own form information that essentially is a relationship. Again, unless you're a breatharian, and I don't know much about that, so somebody might ask me a question about that. That's I hear future versions of a lot of us. But right now, we're here to, from one perspective, to interact with the living life that we are. And we're creating a relationship. When we eat our vegetables, we're honoring the fact that this came from Earth, that water helped provide it, that it is a living being. And then we're absorbing that into our system, becoming one with it, digesting it, and then using it, composting it, right? And then using it for fuel for our fire. And I'm hearing word alchemy is a beautiful tool right now. It's not about the words, or let me rephrase that. It's language, it's sound, it's harmonics, it's movement, it's pattern, it's flow, it's tonality, it's frequency. Our ears hear it, our vocal cords play, our bones feel it, and the energy through and around us responds to it. So this is deeply and intrinsically connected to the harmonics of the earth right now, because the earth is making sounds as well that are being overlaid by certain technologies. Yet when I'm being shown right now a picture of monks, and all of the monks that are up in the mountains that make these sounds together. They're actually accomplishing something. They're actually creating something. They're creating a sound harmonic that is connecting to a space from one perspective, I'm hearing continuity, a continuous fluidity. And I'm also being shown that that is coherence. And I'm being reminded to share that this needs to be a habitual pattern that is practiced. Okay, now I see where we're going with this. I'm going into the energy update from here. Maybe. I'm hearing enough said about that for now. So when I say practice and work, I might do a separate video on this, because this has been quite a long, lengthy video. I'll just touch briefly on the energy and the updates. I have so much, but in a nutshell, work and practice is what's leading into this conversation. I've been, I'm stopping just for a moment because I want to see where I want to go with this. Sometimes self-reflection is work, looking to see what is showing up for us, what's being reflected back at us. But what I'm being shown right now is practice using the sounds and the frequencies to help balance out the unharmonious frequencies that are not coherent. So I had drawn on a video a while ago about this cross streaming of a bandwidth up here, and then this I'm hearing Fraggle Rock again. This fragmented energy. So here's, everything's fractal. Well, not everything's fractal. Let's say coherence is fractal, right? And fragmentation is split all over the place. So it's like, I'm seeing white noise, static, but not the white noise where it's like soft and soothing, like womb-like. I'm seeing interference is essentially what I'm hearing. So there's a lot of interference going on. And if we're not doing the work to stabilize our own frequencies and energies, then we are allowing that interference to keep us incoherent, out of harmony, out of coherence. And this is why, and I'm being guided, I don't want to get into in this video about, well, who's doing it and why they're doing it, what the agenda is, where it's coming from, how long is it going to last. All of that is the logical left brain analytical typical human questions. I ask this stuff all the time and I get frustratingly simple answers. Work on yourself, do some toning, go right. And I'm like, oh, but I also get direct answers that, again, I don't have a desire to go into in this particular video. Many of us know where they're coming from and why it's happening, but that's just from one perspective. The juice of it is that we're getting a lot of interference right now. It's being ramped up. So it's also being hyped up, and we're buying into it. But that means we have the right to fight, to party. When I said that earlier, I never really finished that thought jingle. What is it when we're partying? We're celebrating. We're finding joy. We're living life. And the energy update, part of it is, it's been challenging for many of us to feel joyful. Like we don't have the right to celebrate because there's so many crazy things going on. We're being blasted by this. This disclosure is not happening as quickly as we wanted to, or the way that we should, or in the subjects that we wanted to. This is still going on. I'm going through a separation, not me personally, but a lot of people are, or I'm experiencing sickness and my family doesn't understand me and I'm miserable at my job. I could go on and on and on and on. what is that Jimmy Buffett song? My feet stink and I don't love Jesus. Like everything is right. We're like, okay, this is how miserable I am right now. There's a lot of people that are in that. And we have to fight, but this is a play on words, by the way. It's not like fight, like, yeah, that's right. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to bust some chops. It's literally do the work, play with it. In order to play, we have to play. If we're constantly in a struggle and we're constantly in a battle, and I'm not saying there's not a battle going on from many perspectives, there is, right? There's a lot of crazy shit going on. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, a lot of it's really ugly. But if we're constantly being pulled into that state, what is that? What is this awfulness? This fold. Did I talk about that earlier? No, I didn't. There's a great show called Shadow and Bone. I mean, it's kind of creepy, but kind of good. I like those kind of shows. And there's this giant thing, it's called the fold, and it just like eats everything up. It's this shadow, and it's got these like monsters in it. And I'm not going to give away the show because it's really got a lot of cool soft disclosure in it. But anyways, my point is we don't want that to swallow us up, because once we let that chaos and disharmony and incoherence and interference literally interfere. What I see is, let's say we're stable and then it's like things can dive bomb us. Let's use sound as an example. And we're like, and I know where I stand. But many of us get knocked off course and we're like, where do I stand? And when we're in those moments of fear or anger or judgment, which is human, but when we stay in those, it's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. I'm being guided to say it again. It's all about consistency. This is one of my pitfalls I've experienced. I've had a tendency over the years to be inconsistent. It can be challenging to be dipping into all of these different frequencies and then getting out of practice. Practice can be as simple as meditating for 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be the same way every single time, but it is being consistent about it. It is about doing the work. Many times we get confused and we get lost in what we think is doing the work. And I'm being guided to talk a little bit about that because this is the energy update that I'm being guided to share from what's been going on in my world and what I've been seeing with others and in recent couple sessions that I did. We get into these places where we're doing the work, which is research. And then we're doing the work by spreading the word of what we've discovered. But we're not doing the work on ourselves. And then we get caught up in spreading the word about things that have already happened or that are being in the process of I'm being guided to talk a little bit about that at the end. So hopefully I'll remember, no promises. The fact that things are being dismantled, but they're not, so I'm reminding myself to talk about the dismantling and Legos. So we're doing all this work, but it's busy work. It's keeping us busy. It's keeping us informed, but it's also keeping us distracted. So there is that fine line, there's that balance. And it takes us out of coherence. And I want to go back into what is coherence. Coherence is being in a place of, I don't even want to use the word neutral, because we can be feeling, we can have an opinion on something, or we can have a feeling about something, meaning we don't like something. But when we're in a place of coherence, we can still be in a place of coherence. And we can say something like, I don't agree with what you're telling me right now. But we're not reacting to it because our heart, our space, true coherence, I do believe, is more neutral. But we can be in a balanced space when we're in meditation, where our body, we're breathing, we're in alignment with our true source. which is gratitude, appreciation, joy. And in that moment, even if it's 30 minutes a day, that is a party. That is a celebration. That is us unplugging from whatever we want to label it as and going within and going into our own. I think Jason Estes uses the word container, which I really like. I call it the membrane. We go into the me membrane, the true membrane that holds everything together. This field of existence in which we connect with our body and we connect with just us in that moment, which is connected directly to source and also earth, of course. But it's finding that space, doing it consistently. Then what happens is when we get blasted with all of this other stuff, whether it be information, whether it be technology, whether it be negativity from others, whether it be life experiences that we're in the process of integrating or experiencing, we're able to then remember, hold on to, hold space for, be in that space more regularly. I'm hearing regulators. It's a rap song, right? No, it's a band. Oh, well, yeah, it's a rapper. No, it's a song. It's all of the above. Regulator. Anyways. Oh boy. So we've got to fight for our right to party. We have to be able to celebrate. And if we are in that space of I can't celebrate because everything's wrong, we're then in chaos. We are then in disorder. We are then not fractal. We are fractionated. And what is it? Separation. I'm hearing separation anxiety. Ooh. We go into a space of separation anxiety because we feel alone. We feel fractionated. We feel divided and conquered. And it creates a sense of separation anxiety because we forget that we are truly connected to something bigger than just this experience or just this person or just this subject or just this particular story. We are more than that. But we have to consistently be in that space so that we can remember that we are more than that. And we can feel that. And it may seem, feel completely overwhelmed at times. I've been there this week. And then I have to remember, oh yeah, it's keep it simple. Have I been breathing? Have I been meditating? Have I been recognizing with compassion what it is that I'm going through and what others are experiencing? Have I been showing my appreciation and gratitude for the people that I love? Because sometimes we can get so wrapped up into whatever it is we're experiencing or witnessing that's going on around us that we forget to reach out. And I've done it. I'm actually going to call a friend after this because I missed her call last night. I'm not always the best at that. I have a tendency to get in my own little bubble. And that's just part of my own work. To do the inner work, I need to reset. And coherence brings us into that space where we're then able to counter the incoming, I'm hearing the incoming tide. And again, it's the interruption. We're less likely to be interrupted. We have pauses, but it doesn't completely tear us apart to where we're scattered everywhere and then we have to rebuild everything from scratch. And that can, by the way, happen though in a very short amount of time, especially now because time doesn't work in the same way it used to. And I don't know that'll be too long of a video to go into that. So take time to celebrate. That doesn't, and that I'm also being guided to talk a little bit about not feeling guilty for taking the time to celebrate. I'm gonna go dance around my house and I'm gonna put on some 80s jams, and I am not gonna feel guilty that I'm dancing around my house listening to 80s music because somebody else has something massive going on in their life. Because I have to do that. Because if I fall apart, then how does that affect that? How does that help them? How does that help the situation? Doesn't mean I'm going to ignore the situation, right? It does mean, though, I'm going to take time to fight for my right to party. And I'm going to take time to celebrate the life that I am living. Because if I'm not doing that, I'm not living life. I'm living somebody else's life, right? Or I'm, yeah. The Legos and the so there is a dismantling going on, a massive dismantling, but it takes time from a linear perspective, because I was shown Legos, and I'm going to use dimensions for an example. I see dimensions at, I was shown that when we sound out, we're actually weaving together a particle exchange that creates a network and a pattern that literally builds up a fibrous form. And then it encases us in that form and interacts with matter. Matter's not the right word. It interacts with electricity and plasma and ether and all of that. And it literally builds a grid, a web. It literally shapes reality. So that which was shaped in our previous realities that we are coexisting in now, that are in the process of being dismantled and dissolving, were based on a disharmonious architecture. Not necessarily from the beginning, but we'll say that has interfered, kind of like what's going on with the sound. It's trying to interrupt. What did I say earlier? Interference. That chaos and tangles, knots, not slip knots, not fractality, but fractionality, created gaps. So the foundation isn't stable. It's just coagulated and tangled up. And what we're doing is we're softening that. The hard pieces are cracking and falling apart. But if you look at Legos, and let's say 3D was built out of Legos, and we say, get rid of it. It's all awful. And we take off the bottom of the Legos and everything falls down. Well, that pulls everything else down with it from one perspective. And by the way, there's multiple perspectives on this. From another perspective, it's already gone. It's already dissolved. It's already been integrated. Let's use 4D as an example instead. Right, so we're in 4D from my perspective, one of my perspectives. If we just take that and just get rid of it, a lot of the nutrients that are there, what I'm hearing are the gems that are hidden and woven in with this 4D network, are then wasted. They're not used. It's like what do they say? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because those are meant to use as tools, as well as nutrients for the building blocks of these other frequencies and these other higher dominions. So many of us are like, just get rid of it. We want love and light. This is it. But that takes, because it was built around time mechanics, it takes time to be dismantled so that the whole thing doesn't implode. Is the wrong word, because implosion can be a good thing if we're talking about being fractal and the heart and the slip knot and the anu and all of that. But what I'm being shown is that you can't just take off the base and let it all fall down, because there's too much entangled with it. It's that simple, but complicated, right? So in the meantime, and I'm being guided to play with that, in the golden age, in the golden means time, we are the frequency conductors that are literally moving this train forward. We've already created the tracks. We're already in this other space. We're already walking between worlds. So while that other world that is interlaid on top of each other, interlaced and woven together, intermingled, wrapped within each other, is dissolving, while that network is being dissolved and disintegrated, we're being invited to really be as consistent as we can with our golden frequency, while we are also creating stability, so to speak, for that which is disintegrating. That, and I could again go on and on about that, because there's many of us that feel like, well, we have to, then I have to be stable, and I can't. That means, are you saying that I can't look at the things that are going on? No, that's not at all what's being shared. It's that I'm looking at all of that, but am I doing what I need to do in order to stabilize my own frequency and be consistent with it? Does that mean I'm always going to be in party time? Yeah, I'm celebrating. I just discovered something new about that's being disclosed. Must not go down, must not feel bad about it. Must not, I mean, I'm not a robot, right? We're not robots. Well, maybe some of us are. But essentially, we're going to feel certain things. We're going to be, some of that energy that's interfering with us is going to get in. But again, in that separation anxiety, when we're pulled out of the oneness with who we really are, we have to do the work to get back to that, to be consistent, so it doesn't happen as much. And this helps us create that frequency. And what I keep hearing is it creates a baseline frequency, so that all of that other interference doesn't have the same effect or the same holding patterns on the starseed community, on the humans, on the light workers, on the men, women, and everything in between that is in this sound frequency, right? From one perspective. So that's what I'm being guided to share. I'm going to end on that note. Whew, been a long video. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. Wow. Thank you. And I will be answering some questions. I was going to turn off my comments. Every time I go to turn off comments because I feel bad, let me rephrase that. Sometimes I do feel a little bad or guilty because I'm not able to get back with comments, or I'm not able to answer questions. But on the flip side, I honor everybody for sharing, and I have to obviously work on my own work and share what I can when I can. And I appreciate you guys so much, because I go in and I get ready to just turn everything off so that I can just focus on channeling the information. And then I see these beautiful questions and comments, and I'm like, oh. And so sometimes it might be 6 months before I get to a comment. And so we'll see. Every day is different, right? So in love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to do another video very soon. Namaste. I have to walk over to turn off my camera. Old school.